So, Your Excellencies, dear professors, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, first of all. My name is Ján Kuciak and I'm from the French Institute in Slovakia, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this Slovak edition of Café Europa. This series of events, Café Europa, was conceived months ago as a means to emphasize the importance of access to quality information. Unfortunately, since then, and in the past 10 days, another event, a tragic event, has brought to light in a much more brutal manner the importance of information. And I'm talking, of course, about the war in Ukraine. Because of this war, we thought it all the more important to hold this event today. But because of this war, it was also not clear that we'll be able to. So I feel extremely lucky that we're here today together to share this moment. And before we move on and I introduce today's speakers, I would like to call to the floor the Ambassador of France to Slovakia, His Excellency Pascal Ledinf, for the opening words.
Thank you very much, Ján Kuciak. Excellencies, dear colleagues, dear professors, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, on behalf of all of us, I think, and certainly on behalf of the European Union, I would like to express once more today our solidarity to the Ukrainian authorities and the Ukrainian people for their courage, determination to defend our values, democracy and freedom. Thank you very much for being here today with us for an important debate between journalists on disinformation and freedom of press in the context of conflict. Unfortunately, this debate is very timely. I would like to express my gratitude to the representation of the European Commission in Slovakia and to the French Institute in Slovakia for organizing this event. As an introduction to our discussion, I would like to raise very briefly 4 points related to our topic today. First, without the safety of journalists, there can be no freedom of press, and without freedom of press, there can be no democratic societies. You have to know that in 2021, 46 journalists were killed. This is unacceptable. Every murder of a journalist remains intolerable. At the same time, we are also witnessing a worrying increase of the number of journalists in detention. In 2021, Reporters Without Borders numbered 488 journalists in prison, an increase of 20% in a year. At the Council of Europe, a platform has already been established for the protection of journalism and the safety of journalists in order to alert us about threats and violence committed against journalists. We must be exemplary and ensure that we respond to each alert on an attack against a journalist. I know that in Slovakia, this subject is important, and today we all remember Ján Kuciak. The French Presidency of the Council of the European Union listens attentively to the proposals that are being made by Slovakia in order for Europe to take up this problem and act to strengthen the safety of journalists. So first, the safety of journalists. Second point, security is an essential point, but the contribution of the press to democracy can only be positive and lasting if the media landscape is sufficiently pluralistic. This requires that the media have sustainable financial means and that independent media and investigative media are protected. In this respect, France is in favor of the emergence of an international fund for the media of public interests, because free, public, and reliable information is in the heart of our democratic model. The French Presidency of the Council of the European Union is also proposing now the immediate creation of a European support fund for independent and investigative journalism. Third point, in too many countries we see unacceptable attacks on freedom of the press and freedom of expression. We Europeans must speak out against these practices, systematically denounce them and strengthen the tools of the international organization to respond to these attacks. Fourth point, in addition, through new forms of censorship, we are confronted with an offensive against the facts, through a proliferation of manipulations of information and phenomena of misinformation, false information, and rumors. Information is often twisted, manipulated, even misguided. The digital revolution has globalized these practices, which are resolutely hostile to peaceful public debate and fracture our democratic societies. 2 years ago, aware of these dangers, France launched with Reporters Sans Frontières the Information and Democracy Partnership, which now brings together 46 states, including Slovakia. As part of this partnership, we are working on the launch of an observatory for information and democracy, which will operate according to the IPCC model for climate. It will be responsible for evaluating developments in the global information space and for publishing a report on a regular basis to help public officials to make the necessary decisions to correct shortcomings. Digital regulation is another response to this phenomenon, via the responsibility of digital platforms in moderating the content through broadcast through their services. Infodemics will be dealt with thanks to the system applicable soon, I hope, to very large platforms provided for by the European Directive on Digital Services, the so-called DSA directive, the finalization of which is one of the main priorities of the French Presidency of the Council of the European Union. These manipulations of information are particularly harmful in times of conflict, as it is unfortunately the case today. And there we must also act at the national level. And today I want to salute the initiatives taken by the Slovak government. Slovak's ministries of justice and culture proposed to make several changes to criminal code and media laws in order to address the issue of misinformation. The Ministry of Interior has started to build a center for combating hybrid threats, which will analyze disinformation and design strategies to defend the country against them. This is the way to go. Our governments have to act decisively. I would like to extend today my deep gratitude to the two journalists who accepted to be here with us to talk better than I do about these issues and others regarding the disinformation and the freedom of the press. Jean-Baptiste Chastand, du journal Le Monde, and Filip Struhárik from Denník. Also, I would like to thank the two moderators for this debate, Patrik Lenghart and Radoslav Marek, both from the University of Constantine the Philosopher, that I address my thanks also, to which I address my thanks also. Let me thank finally the Nová Cvernovka Center for hosting this important event. I wish you a good debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. And now, before I call to the stage the participants, so we can start the actual debate, I would like to remind you that after the discussion, we will have time for questions. So please hold your questions for then. And now, I would like to call to the stage, first of all, the two panelists, Jean-Baptiste Chastand, who is the correspondent in Central Europe for the daily newspaper Le Monde. Filip Struhárik, sorry for the pronunciation, from the Slovak daily Denník N, and our two moderators, Patrik Lenghart and Radoslav Marek, both of them from the Department of Journalism of the University Constantine the Philosopher in Nitra. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction, and allow also me to welcome you all here. Thank you very much for coming. We will continue now in our discussion. So, before we start, I also want to introduce us. My name is Radoslav. This is my colleague Patrik Lenghart. We are both PhD candidates of mass media studies, and it's really a great pleasure for us to be here.
Yeah, welcome. I've got a little thing to say. As you can see, we're not wearing masks. So first of all, thank you very much that you are. We would like to be, but we clearly can't. So just for you to easily understand us, we had to remove our masks. We're very sorry, but we guarantee that this is very safe. And now, if we could go on, I would like to introduce our guest again, as he was introduced before, but this is Monsieur Chastand. He's a correspondent for Le Monde, and he's actually responsible for reporting on Central European events. Especially now, he's very important for us. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
And also thank you to Filip Struhárik, who is editor in the journal Denník N, who's focused on online journalism and digital media. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for your invitation. Thank you.
It is these topics we will discuss today are very important, as we can see what is happening very near our country. We will discuss the media independence and digital media, and also naturally we will touch the topic of the conflict in Ukraine.
Yeah, we actually had a very nice sit-down prepared before all this happened, but we have to go away from what we have prepared because the situation currently does not really allow us to keep our preparations. So instead, let's go straight to what really is important today. And I would like to open this discussion with a certain topic. What does it mean, what the term means, independent media in the current digital world? I would like to give the word first to you, Monsieur Chastand. Independent media, what does it mean today, and why is it important?
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm very proud to be with Denník N, because I think that's the best example probably in Europe how to be independent in the digital world. So I think Philip will explain much better than I do. But actually, it's very interesting because I think Le Monde follows in a kind of way the path of Denník N. We even have a colleague who came to visit Denník N, I think last year, because we wanted to take inspiration of a subscription-based model, which is so successful for Denník N and which is actually very successful for Le Monde. So in this digital world, I would say the best way to be independent is subscription, because we all know the advertising market is going down even on the online market. And the fact that the readers are now ready to pay for content make us much more independent than we used to be in the past. So I think, to make everything complicated short, I would say subscription is the key to independence.
I have to agree. I would go against myself and my company if I would said something different. So definitely, subscription makes your newsroom more independent because you don't have to wait for money from advertising, because we all know that, or it's common known that about 70 to 80% from ad marketing money goes to Facebook and Google. So this budget that before a few years ago goes directly to media now goes to these tech platforms, and media have to fight for the rest. And if you are only dependent on money from advertising, you in these times, in this attention economy, you have to make a lot of compromises. You have to make much more clickbait titles. You have to go for topics that are not, let's say, so important for our public debate or for society or for democracy, but are important for clicks and for engagement. So you have to do this compromises just to be alive. So this is one problem. But of course, there is a lot of newsrooms that still have their main resources from advertising, and they can make great journalism. I don't want to say or I don't want to imply that if you are at business you have to be wrong newsroom. It's definitely not the case. But subscription model makes your funding much more independent. You don't have to create this kind of clickbait, engagement bait content. You have to make content that is valuable for your readers, and they don't want content that brings you new photos of Kardashian. They don't want to pay for that. They won't pay for content that makes their life that will help them make decisions in their everyday life. So what they have to buy, who they want to vote, what they if they have to wear a mask tomorrow or next week. So this is information they need, and they want to pay for that. We can see it on our data as well. Never ever in our history people paid for some kind of tabloid content or this kind of content. Even we made some. We're not perfect. We sometimes fall in this trap, but never ever people pay for this. They pay for good quality journalism that brings you some kind of explanatory analysis, something's really important for their life. So and for this model, the subscription model is the best suitable.
And would you say that this subscription model would be a reliable source of money into the future, or do you see any other scenarios? Of course.
The problem is that, for example, in Slovakia, you are not allowed to have 10 or 15 big subscription-based media in such a small country. You are not allowed to. You are allowed, but it's really hard to make a regional newspaper based only on subscription model. So definitely, this model is limited to just for a few players on the market. You are not able to do it in a small village or small town. Definitely not in this series. You have to create mixed models. You can create some kind of exclusive content for subscribers, but definitely you have to take money from advertising, from some kind of fundings or anything. So yeah. It's not a one-way solution for all of them. You definitely there are more ways how to do this in this era. There are a lot of media that are only on social media or more focused on social media. They are focusing on for example younger people. Definitely they are not allowed to. It's not able for them to be subscription based, but they can create. Great journalism for example for young people younger than for example 25 years that never ever will pay for journalism. They have a lot of other things they have to buy from their limited resources. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
I think we have the same issue in France, even if it's a bit a bigger country than Slovakia. We still have the issue that people basically don't take 10 subscriptions at the same time. So the big players like Le Monde are in very good situation in this market, but we have smaller players which still are struggling because they don't have enough subscribers to be based on this thing. But I'm a bit surprised because we have also a lot of local newspaper in France. Now we start to be subscription based also. So I think even for the so-called regional press, we call it in France, the subscriptions became much more the biggest model.
And you are more of an international correspondent, international reporter. We heard that it works. This model works for people who want to know if they can wear masks for a national level. What about international stories? Are they a source of motivation for people to subscribe?
I mean, it's a kind of we call it in France like when you take a subscription to Le Monde, you want to have this international story, even if you don't always read them. That's the thing I would say. It's like you are proud of being part of Le Monde and of this international coverage. And of course, my article about Central Europe are probably much less read than all articles about French politics. But still, I think the readers, they take a subscription to Le Monde because they want to know what is going on in Central Europe sometimes. And so it's a part of a package, of a subscription package. I will discover it. I don't know how it is for Denník.
Yeah, I think it's same in every country, that foreign news are not so interesting for a public. Definitely, it's not just in the digital era. I remember a quote from editor-in-chief of Newsweek, I think it was, that if they put on their cover of their magazine the international news, the sales on the newsstands is much lower than if they put anything about their in-house political issues. So it was always like this even before the digital era. This is not something new. We are always interested in our country, in our region, in what's going on around us, and not much more about like your articles are not much that read in France. Maybe our articles about French elections are not that much read like our stories. Maybe not so important for our everyday lives, but we are more interested in what's near to us. So,
and I must say, with Ukrainian, it was a big exception. I mean, the last day I saw we have a kind of counter for Le Monde website. You can see what are the 10 most read articles, and I think in the last day, like 9 of 10 were about Ukraine. So it was like a big exception, which shows that international news. And at this time, I think people are very proud to be subscriber of Le Monde, where we have currently 3 reporters on the ground, 3 photographers. I was covering the refugee crisis in the last days. So, and I don't think there is any newsroom in France which is able to send so many people on the ground on an international news. So yeah, and it's thanks to this subscription.
Yeah, well, we got the financial independence covered. Now, what remains is the independence that comes with the freedom to think, freedom to speak, freedom to come out with your opinions. So, especially with looking at what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, what does it mean to have a healthy, independent media environment in this situation? What would you think is the main problem, and what can we do, or what should be done, more precisely, to improve this situation?
Do you mean in Russia, or in Slovakia, or in Europe? Which country do you mean?
Yes, all of them, of course. I was currently implying Russia because, as we have been hearing for the past 2 days, independent thinkers and independent media are being shut down. So are citizens protesting against the war. So that's the first topic, and we can get to the rest afterwards.
It's hard to say it diplomatically, but I think that free press in Russia definitely has ended. It's not available to have free press in Russia in these days, in this current situation, in these laws that came in that were accepted in Parliament in Thursday, I think. So it's not allowed to have free press in Russia, and I can't imagine for now any way how you can make something like, let's say, free journalism. You can make some kind of content on Telegram or WhatsApp or whatever, but I don't think this is journalism as we understand journalism. And I don't have any solution. I don't have any. There is a solution. We know what is the solution. The end of Putin, but I don't have a realistic solution for now. So I can say something more optimistic for now.
And
about
the turning point we saw in the last days is this kind of they try to extend this censorship from Russian media to international media with this law, because with this law regarding the 15 years of jail for spreading, I don't know what it's called, fake news, or like exactly what's the wording of it, is also applying to foreign journalists based in Russia. So to be very concrete, our correspondent now who is working in Russia is afraid that he can be every day sent to jail based on his articles, even in French, even published in Le Monde. So that's very worrying. That they start to extend this censorship to even to international media. So that means now, if you are Russian and you want an independent source of information, you can't even read international press probably. So it's very worrying, and I don't know what is the solution here.
If I could pursue this topic one step further, imagine we're in Russia, we're a very normal citizen, but let's say we speak English or French or some other world language apart from Russian. What should one do? What can one do to access information in their current environment? Are there any ways for them to get out of the propaganda machine?
When I talk to some people in Russia, they say, if you are a Russian citizen and you want to know the truth, it's still possible to know the truth. So that's the question. So how much the Russian population really wants to know the truth? I don't know what is your opinion, but you have still way with VPN and with kind of things to look at the other side. And basically, I'm not sure that all the Russian wants to look at the other side. So.
Yeah. For some group of, let's say, dissidents or intellectuals, it's still available to read international news, to go on Facebook or whatever. But as you said, it's majority of people don't want to do that. Even in our country, my parents are not the news junkies that would search for information. They just want to sit in the evening in front of television and get the news from TV. They don't need for their lives to. They don't use Facebook. They don't need to search for news and analyze it. And they have their life. So they just want to spend 30 minutes a day with the news in TV, and that's all. And I don't think that's wrong. I don't think that it's something unintellectual or something that we should criticize. It's just the normal life. People don't have to take care of every news that happens around the world. So it's totally okay from our perspective. And I think in Russia it's the same. That people just want the basic information for whatever channel it is. It could be the Vkontakte or it could be TV news or whatever. They don't want to dig much deeper. But my colleague wrote it today on Facebook that maybe in this situation some kind of big VPN companies should make alliance or make some kind of campaigns and offer to all Russians free services, so they can use VPN and they can go online. So this is maybe some kind of idea that should be produced by that should be managed by big IT companies in these days to help Russians that want to go online and want to read independent news to be able to do that.
And
can I just a little context for those of you who don't know VPN? When you access internet news and when you access internet whatsoever, you give away your personal information about your devices, your mobile phones, your computers, also your PN address. That means if you access the Slovakia internet section of our connection network, our government can somehow, to some extent, control what you can access. In Russia currently, Google, YouTube, Facebook, and other big companies are being shut down this way. Russian PNs cannot access these new sites and these new sources of information. Therefore, VPN is a solution that somehow camouflages your personal information and pretends you're from another country. If you took, for example, a Slovakian proxy server or a VPN solution, the device you're using would pretend it's in another country, or it somehow changes other information about your devices and would allow you to address these external information sources. That's the VPN solution, and that's why Mr. Struhárik is talking about this. So the Russian population should have a free access to our news, but that would, of course, require an alliance of private providers of VPN and proxy.
And I still think there is a huge technical barrier with VPN. As you say, I don't think your mother or my mother will ever know how to use a VPN. So
yeah.
That's.
Thank you for explanation. And I would just add that there is a lot of free VPN services, but if you want a really good one, you have to pay. So because it's the free ones are really slow, so you were loading the internet like 15, 20 years ago. The image is just loading very slowly. So if you want a fast and really secure VPN, you have to pay for it. And so this is what I said, that there should be some services or campaigns for Russians. Yeah, if you want this profi VPN, you should have it for free because you are from Russia. This could be our support for Russians.
Thank you really for explanation. Again, I'm not really a technical person myself, so finally I know how to watch Netflix movies available only in the USA. And so the digital era brought us the comfort to see content which is made abroad, to read pieces without physically get hands on the physical piece. And you currently, Denník journal, Denník currently started or is launching the Hungarian version of your journal due to situation getting harder and harder for journalists and media in Hungary. And the similar situation is in Russia and maybe in other states. So what are the options and limitations for this activity to supplement maybe media in the countries where media are being suppressed?
It's a really hard question. After 1 year of doing this project, I would have some answers. For now, we are on a start level, so we don't have this first-hand experience. What is the challenges, or what will be the problems? For me, I'm not in a core team that is starting this Hungarian project from a Hungarian minority in Slovakia. So I don't have the current information and all the behind the scenes info. But it will be, for example, it will be really hard for us to target the audience. So big challenge for us as a Bratislava liberal media that covers mostly the Slovak politics. Will be really hard to find the readership in a rural, for example, in the rural area of a Hungarian minority in Slovakia, or even in the cities. It doesn't matter. But they didn't read Denník before, so it will be really hard for us to target them. Of course, you can target the ads on Facebook and all this stuff, but you don't have this huge budget to target every single article to the proper audience. So we are so from my I don't know all the details of this project for now. We don't know what challenges we will have to come or what challenges we will have to work out in next months. But first challenge that I see as the biggest challenge for us is that how to find the right audience. Even if we start now for Ukrainian news or Russian news, we can do it tomorrow. We can't because we don't have the stuff, but technically we can do it. It will be, again, we can do it, but it will be just publishing and pushing content online and nothing happens. What can we do to target the right audience? It's essential in the situation. I don't have answers. We will learn by the way.
And was it hard maybe to cover the project when you started? I don't know. I know you weren't in the core, but maybe if it was hard to cover the project by staff, as you mentioned.
To find the right stuff for this project, I think there is a lot of great Hungarian or Slovak journalists that understand Hungarian language. There is a lot of people who could be in this project. So I don't think that the personal question is the most troubling for us for now. I don't see the problem here.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of good Hungarian journalists on the market, unfortunately, due to the media situation in Hungary.
Yeah.
You have to imagine being a Hungarian journalist. You want to do a proper job right now in Hungary, it's very difficult. So some of them prefer to live in Vienna also. We have a few of them, and yeah.
So it will be. I don't see this as a problem because there's a lot of free and great journalists on the market that are not able to do independent news or are doing some kind of PR or marketing because they were not allowed to do the job they really want to do. So I don't see this as a problem for now, but we'll see.
And you covered the Central Europe, also the situation in Hungary, and you said that you also meet the journalists from Hungary. So due to current situation and maybe the independence and liberty of press being oppressed, maybe I would say, what are they're looking for? What are their plans, maybe, of those journalists who can't no longer write?
I mean, few of them managed to go to the last Hungarian independent media. A few of them managed to go. There was a few international initiatives in the last years regarding Hungary, like Radio Free Europe, which launched a Hungarian-speaking website again. I know for French case, the French AFP launched also a fake news, how do you say, anti-fake news agency, which is based in Vienna, and we have also Hungarian-speaking journalists. So that's how they managed to find a way, but a lot of them just abandoned the journalism also. It's like because they don't want to be part of this propaganda machine, or they don't want to be, or they can't find a good position. Yeah, that's the thing I experience a lot in Hungary.
And how can you maybe find, you were talking about the targeting the right group of readers, how can we maybe find the way to broad public from abroad?
I mean, if to speak about the example of Le Monde, of course we are a French-speaking website, so we started a few years ago Africa section because it was important for us to be to try to have a French offer for people from Africa, French-speaking Africa. So we launched and we have like a full Africa newsroom now covering news on Africa for African people, and I think it's something we saw also with El País, for instance, with South America. It's like, yeah, it's the kind of thing to be international, and at the same time, we always think also, should we launch an English-speaking section to promote English-speaking articles? So far, it hasn't been made, but it's still, yeah, maybe one of the few projects. I mean, actually, we launched an English-speaking newsletter for the presidential election this year. So for English-speaking people to follow the French presidential election with the view of Le Monde, which is like, of course, a specific, big institution in the French media landscape. And the thing is, to speak about Africa, the thing we're struggling, it's a lot of countries in Africa, there is no middle class who is ready to pay for content, first of all, or they basically just, they don't have a good internet connection. So our website in Europe are very long to load, you know, and it's like they are not fit for a poor internet connection, actually. So actually, the biggest viewer we have is more like in Maghreb, which is a richer part of Africa, where we already have a middle class who is ready to read newspaper, basically.
Two questions came to me during this exchange. The first is actually just for the following topic. More than 1 million people have already left Ukraine. We have general knowledge that most Ukrainians are able to comprehend text in Russian. We have Russian-speaking and reading people in Latvia, Lithuania, and basically every European country, because Russia has a huge immigration rate. Isn't this a chance to actually start establishing media houses like Denník or Le Monde African version for Russian reading and speaking people about the current topics? Isn't this like the hole on the market that we should fill with independent media news?
I think it partly already exists. You have some media like Medusa, which is based in one of the Baltic countries, I don't remember. But the thing is, if internet connection is cut, I don't know how you find your audience. No, it's the biggest problem. So it's not to launch an offer from Western Europe. It's like if people in Russia can't access to it, at least maybe you can inform the refugees, which is probably be a huge issue for Slovakia as well. Again, and yeah, but for the people living there, it will be still very difficult to access the news.
Yeah, I'm not expert on the Russia media ecosystem, but as you said, Medusa or Eco Moscow or all these media that were closed or had troubles, they can manage, or they are the right players who can start something like this. I maybe a little bit better. I know Ukrainian sphere, and I know there is a lot of great projects, startups, and then I was there in Lvov 2 or 3 years ago and met a huge group of really capable and intelligent and extremely clever young journalists. So I'm not afraid about them. One of them just launched the donation on some kind of crowdfunding, and they now have about nearly 700,000, I think, pounds. It is a British page, so about 700,000 pounds just for independent Ukrainian media, so they can leave the country. They can move to, for example, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, wherever they want, and work their journalism from there, from safe space, and then do journalism for Ukrainian just from other countries. So they have a huge international support, and I'm not afraid about Hungarian. I'm not afraid about Ukrainian news for now. They are extremely capable and extremely skillful. They have skills and knowledge how to do it. So
yeah, and that leads me to the second question. Even though we're both PhD candidates, Rado and I, for mass media studies, we're also journalists. We did study journalism. And in our forums, topics are being opened between students and young professionals. Many young Ukrainian journalists, and even not that young Ukrainian journalists that were able to emigrate Ukraine war zones, are arriving in Slovakia, in Poland, in our countries, and they're looking for jobs because they're skilled journalists with experiences that are valuable, but they're unable to use our languages or even our letters because they write in Azbuka. So what would you give as an advice to these people that are actually great in their craft as journalists, but basically powerless in current atmosphere in Europe?
I don't think that I have a right or knowledge to give them any advice. I don't feel that I should be put in this position. It's definitely not. I think that yeah, those who know English language, they are already doing some kind of, we can see Kyiv independent, so we can see this project that are or fix media, or all this this environment of English language and Ukrainian news. So we can see that those who don't know the English or our language or are using only Azbuka, I don't have a solution for them because I'm not expert on this area. So sorry for now. Maybe.
I'm not a manager, so it's also very difficult for me to provide any kind of concept.
But I think there will be discussions with a lot of newsrooms. If there is it's hard to talk with one person and create solution around one person, around one journalist. But if there is a group or team that is capable of doing something, I think there could be support, international support, not just in Slovakia, but in other countries to support them and find them way to do journalism. I'm optimistic. Even in this situation, I'm optimistic.
And I would say so far there is a huge need of journalism in Ukraine, and it's still possible to work as journalists there. So it's not like Belarus, where basically we had to ground this media in Warsaw, I think, in Poland. So it's like in Ukraine now you can still work as a journalist, and being a Ukrainian journalist now, it probably like very important to cover this war first, and then we have time probably to think, and we all hope that they can go back to Ukraine and to continue work there, and that this conflict ends.
Well, I need to add that just on behalf of Ukrainian journalists, I met few of them, and they are in the non-fighting regions. They are still doing great jobs, which leads me to other topics. We have received a few questions from readers. We'll move to them. when I find my phone. But before that, we touched the questions of journalist as a person. It is a great comfort for journalists to be part of a newsroom, especially when being in war zone. Maybe your journal has two reporters. I think right now is in Kyiv, and with
They already left.
they already left. Okay, I hope they're safe.
Yeah, they are safe. I think they are in Hungary or in Slovakia. I don't have today news. So yesterday they were out of Ukraine. They left with a Slovak embassy and a Slovak ambassador in Kiev. They left in a group. So through Romania, I think they were living.
Okay, so we're happy they are safe.
Yeah, they're safe.
And with the change of the dynamic of the works with digital media and with the change of communication and maybe speed of information increasing, what is the maybe how would you describe maybe the current situation for journalists being a part of a physical newsroom, for being a part of a newsroom when he's abroad?
Do you want to start?
I think it's a kind of big question, but it's still important because also journalists are still persons who need to be part of, maybe who need comfort.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same thing covering a war in Ukraine that being a correspondent in Central Europe, where basically there is no, there used to be no conflict until last week. So it's not like you don't need the same safety and the same experience of this kind of thing. So basically, I'm based in Vienna, so I'm covering Central Europe, so mainly politics usually. And of course, yeah, I'm far from Paris, but I think the most important thing is to try to keep the French mind on the news in Central Europe, because when you spend too much time in a country, you can maybe start to stop to know what is interesting for French readers about these countries. So that's the main challenge. And of course, you are alone, because I don't meet my colleagues every day at the coffee machine, which is sometimes good. So it's like a lot of freedoms. You can travel, you can choose your own topics and this kind of things. Sometimes you like to exchange ideas at the coffee machine also, even if it takes always too long, but it's also very useful. So that's this kind of things I would say. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I answer your question the way you expect me, but yeah, that's great. No expectation for me. Yeah, I can live with that. So from my perspective, it's the greatest era in history to be independent freelance journalism. You can do it quite easily. You can create your exclusive newsletter and get paid via Patreon or Substack or whatever. There are a lot of solutions, and you can make real money for that if you are capable and if you are, let's say, famous or influential. Or so it's in this when we think it as when we think about it in technological or side, we can see it's the best time to start something like this. On the other hand, I'm not a big fan of the freelance journalism. It's great that there is this availability that you can do it, but I'm still big fan of a newsroom as an institution that covers your back, that gives you feedback, that gives you hard question when you are doing some kind of story. That gives you support, legal support, that gives you someone who read your story before it's published, and you don't have these typos and mistakes there, at least. So there is a lot of situation when the institution as a newsroom is extremely important for you. You can do it by your own or in a small team of 2 or 3 people, of course, and it could be great quality journalism and it could have impact. I myself pay for one newsletter that is extremely valuable for me, and it gives me more information than other big media. So I have this kind of favorite journalist that I'm paying for his job. But yeah, as I mentioned, you needed this institution. It's not there are reasons why institution as a newsroom was created in history, and we shouldn't forget it about it because we can do journalism on Telegram, or we can create a website in 5 minutes and start our own. I think it could be a mistake if you believe in yourself that much that you think that you can do all by yourself. It could be tricky way to go.
Okay, and this war, fluently go to this topic. This war brought us few phenomena we weren't maybe expecting, that we can follow actual war via social media, via social networks, and also the speed of news coming back is also greater than it used to be in the history, and also for the readers. But I'm interested more in the part of journalistic work, because both of your also Le Monde and Denník have the journalists in the field in the war, and what are the opportunities for your colleagues there? New, as I say, we have new phenomena. What if I don't know if you can say, but maybe you can answer. What are maybe these?
I mean, for young journalists who are starting or freelancers?
No, for your journalists, for your colleagues in Ukraine, what are maybe the new phenomena being journalists in war during this time?
From my perspective, the war journalism in our newsroom didn't change that much due to digital. Of course, we have more possibilities to contact with them. We can do live stream with them when they're in Kiev. But in general, this journalistic work is the same. They have to find sources. They have to verify them. They will have to talk with as much people as they are allowed, and they have to be safe. That's their main mission. For us, from Bratislava or other cities, we can do this minute by minute information. This we can search Twitter, we can search Instagram, we can follow all the press briefings. We can do that for them from whatever country. We don't need to go to Kiev or wherever. So we use war correspondents as a people, as experts that are in the field, that can bring us stories that couldn't be seen from this distance from social media. So I don't know if this is what you expect, but
no, I partly agree, because we also have a live news feed regarding the war in Ukraine, and I think also it's very important, as you say, for people in the field not to ask too much to send news to this live, because it can be dangerous and it's very time consuming when you are on the field to send what you see. First of all, when you don't have a proper internet connection or mobile phone connection. So I totally agree with you. The best thing is to say maybe make one good story a day. That's what we expect from you, and not to feed the live, which is like very time consuming. And of course we have a huge audience on this live. I don't know, it was at Denník on these last days, but yeah, it's like I don't think a war reporter should be live contributing for news site, at least. So
it would be a waste of their time if they have to send us every single tweet or every single thing that they are really every single information they get. It would take a lot of time for them. Yeah, it's great if they bring one or one story in a day or 2 days. That this great story can make a change. This story would be the most read story of the day. This story brings the evidence from the field or from the real people. But they don't have to waste their time for short news or something like that. We can do that from a distance, from Bratislava. If they want to make change, if they want to make impact, they have to do a really good reportage, a great story about what they see.
When we talk about these topics, especially reporting on the war, we have days when stories offer themselves. We might have a good story in 1 hour, 2 hours, work because sometimes things happen in front of us. There's an attack, there's an event, an occurrence. We cover it, we're done in an hour or two. What to do with the rest of the day? And the question here is not what is right, but what would you approve? And would you encourage journalists to spend the rest of the day volunteering, helping on site, helping the refugees and hurt people? Would you encourage journalists to actually help with the humanitarian work when they're not doing journalistic work?
I mean, I was yesterday in a train between Ostrava and Chop, the Czech train going to the Ukrainian border, picking people back and so on. And there was the train team, they wanted to put me a red jacket, saying, you are part of the team, you must help. And I say, no, I'm sorry, I'm here to report. The situation is terrible, but I have to tell stories, and the refugees ask to know I am a journalist and not a volunteer. It's very important because even as a refugee, you deserve to know you're speaking to a journalist. And I was with a photographer, and the photography of war is also a big topic because, of course, that's one of the few occasions where you can't ask the people, are you okay to be taken in pictures? You have people I was yesterday at this Chop train station, people fighting to board in the train. It's a terrible situation, and of course, they have to know they are talking to a journalist and they are taking pictures for a newspaper because they deserve this right. And if you behave like a volunteer on the spot, they don't know you are a journalist, and for me, it's totally not okay. So it's, of course, the people expect you to help, but you have to explain them, no, but we are here to report, which is also a very important job, and you can't volunteer. Besides that, yesterday I spent the full day with a train with refugees talking. Some of them didn't know where to go. So, of course, I said, at the end of the report, I have a car. If you need, I can bring you to Vienna, to Bratislava. Or if you need this, I will help. But after my time of report, because it has to be very, very separated for me. And, not because I'm a bad person, but because I think the refugees, they deserve also to know where they are talking to, who they are talking to, sorry. So that's my main point.
I think it's unfair from my perspective to if I should give any suggestions or advice, because I was never in conflict zone, I was never in war zone, I was never on a border to so I'm a more analyst type of journalist, so it's I shouldn't give this. Yeah, it's a question of ethical of journalism or ethical in general. We can see in history of journalism a lot of stories when journalists could help the people or child or someone who was dying or was starving or something. Instead, he was making photos, and yeah, it's ethical question or dilemmas. Should he help them right away and maybe save their life, or it was more important to make this photo or make this this image or video and show the world what's going on and yeah, maybe someone has the answer. I don't have. It's a complicated situation. But I understand you are here as a journalist, and maybe you will help the country, the people more if you do your job and not trying to do something different. But it's just the academic discussion from my perspective. I wasn't in this situation, so
I didn't mention the case someone is dying in front of you. Of course.
But there was these cases, and
of course it happened.
Journalists in Ukraine could be in this situation that someone will be dying, and should they put their recording machine and photo machine away and start helping, or should they make pictures?
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame them if they would make pictures, because we saw a history from Kenya, Eritrea, or any conflicts in the history that this picture sometimes make a difference. But it's hard. It's a really hard decision in that situation. So
You both implied that you do not feel comfortable pretending your responses are valuable. I do believe both your responses are very valuable. I don't think our role is to answer all these dilemmas, just to keep the discussion alive, because this is something the society will return as a topic to every day from now on. So I wanted to address it. And now, thank you, and let's move on. Rado, can you-
Well, we have a few questions which were sent to us, so I think we can start with them and then to move to question from audience. So for the question, correlation between available budgets and independent media, I think we covered this topic, or if you want to add something to it, I think we covered it pretty well. And the other maybe is something we didn't touch very much. It's what do you consider to be the biggest problems of digital media, considering the Slovakia, French, and France, and Central Europe, and what would you suggest to? How would you suggest to solve them? It's kind of a big question again.
It's a huge question. It could be your.
We can start with the single problems maybe if you see something with this digital media here in Slovakia.
As I mentioned, it's this kind of engagement or clickbait journalism or journalism that is not there to bring knowledge, to explain things, or to inform, but just to make content and make clicks. This is, from my perspective, the big problem of digital journalism. If you are just a content creation company, not a newsroom. So this is one problem. Another problem is oligarchization of newsroom. It's a current topic, I think, in most countries that I know. Sorry. I don't know if I should continue in the problems, because there is a lot of problems. I see in Slovakia there is a huge problem with public broadcaster, independence of public broadcaster, the professionality of a management team of public broadcaster, the funding. It's extremely bad. I don't know how to say it politely. And nothing is doing with it anything. So it's a disaster.
This hasn't changed with the new government.
New government is not able to make this decision or give more money to RTVS.
Because it's a problem of money, we say, basically.
It's a problem of money. It's a problem of management. It's a problem of money. It's a problem of political influence. Politicians don't want to lose this influence that they have.
Just for the context, we cannot expect the public broadcaster to change whenever the government changes.
No, of course, but you can expect a pro-media freedom government to put the condition to have an independent public broadcaster, which was not the case in the past. So it's like, and politically independent, I would say. But I thought it was one of their promises. That's why I asked, but I didn't.
Even when this government started, they just promised in their plan that they will discuss the model for financing the RTVS. They didn't promise that they will come with a solution. So they just promised that they will discuss the plan, and they make this promise.
I would like to not get into the evaluation of the government's deeds in this area or any area whatsoever. So let's just remain with the conclusion, and that there is still so much work to be done. And let's not evaluate any further, just for politeness to remain here.
Well, to be honest, there are problems which need to be named. If there are problems, it need to be named. But we can continue maybe with the problems you think you see in digital media in France or maybe Central Europe.
I mean, in France, I would say, that's one of the problems I was confronting too. It's very cheap to propagate fake news thanks to the internet. Very, very cheap. And I was very surprised in the last weeks, months. I saw, it was very incredible. I saw fake news propagated in French about targeting actually Hungary or Bulgaria. So that's why you had like kind of preparation. They are publishing bad news article on French about, I don't know, one of the targets from the Hungarian propaganda or from Bulgarian oligarchs. And then these articles in French, they are used in the Hungarian or Bulgarian media landscape to say, oh, look what the French says about these people who is supposed to be the enemy. And I say, wow, it's a very complicated operation of fake news. And actually, it's very cheap. You probably hire the French-speaking people. Actually, when you read the article in French, it's not even properly written in French. And they put these articles on either blog platforms or websites which are considered as newspaper but very low quality newspapers. And yeah, we have a European fake news operations going on, and for a very few money, and because I don't know how much it costed. And of course, it's very disturbing to say now we are doing journalism, and what do you do with this fake news? It's like, yeah, I mean, at Le Monde we opened also an anti-fake news unit, which was very efficient to fight against this fake news, and even the one just going on what's circulating on Facebook and producing an article saying, oh, this is fake news, be careful. But yeah, when you see this kind of operation, I was very disturbed to see something like that. I say, wow, they can go very far. So it's like, yeah, and it's very difficult to fight against this kind of fake news.
And how do you convince the readership that you're the ones who's not the fake news?
I mean, of course, I think there is a part of the research you will never convince. So the fight is about the majority of the people, and to say, and I think Denník in Slovakia and Le Monde in France, we managed to be considered as very serious sources, and to producing content which can be used for people who are in between. That they don't know if they believe fake news, if they believe not the fake news, and when they see Le Monde saying, oh, this is the truth, and they know, okay, Le Monde is reliable, so I can use these articles against fake news propagators, and this is very important. But of course, we will always meet people who will tell to me, you are basically fake news, and I don't talk with you because you are propagating fake news. And I think this part of the population, I mean, we can try whatever we want. It will probably be impossible to reach them because they are so deeply believers that there are conspirations everywhere, and we are part of this conspiration that it's very difficult. So that's my opinion.
Also, the shutting down of the fake news media occurred due to emergency situation and the war going on in Ukraine. And how would you, do you have maybe the picture that how the execution of shutting down the fake news media should be done?
Yeah, this is the big question this week, because 2 disinformation pages in Slovakia were shut down. One of them is not even known in public, but one of them is well known. It's called Hlavné správy. And from when the news came that it will be shut down, I'm trying to find from state authorities the reasons why they shut down this website. I criticized Hlavné správy for years, so it's there is no debate whether it's a disinformation page or not. There is no debate whether they publish manipulations or not. It's crystal clear from my perspective, yes, and even for all experts. But it's a huge interference of state when you turn off a website. And none from the state authorities until today give us real reasons why it was shut down. They
I would like to add some context again. So Hlavné správy was one of the main disinformation sources in Slovakia, and the Ministry of Defense and the Minister of Defense himself claimed that this source was financed by Russian state. However, the real proof of this financing was never presented, and therefore it is unclear whether we can actually rely on this information, and yeah, I would like to return.
Yeah. So I understand that we are in a special situation now during the war, but it is not welcomed precedence if a state could turn off your website. Don't give you any reasons why it happened. If they just say that you are financed from other country, but there are no evidences, when you ask questions, they just say you that it's a state secret. So it's troubling me. Of course I understand that. As I mentioned, I wrote tons of stories that they are real disinformation page. But I think that there should be some checks and balances when the state interferes and turn down any page. It doesn't matter if I like it or not.
Yep.
So we're still waiting. We will be asking these questions again. So because for sure what we know is not the last page that is turned off. So they definitely will turn off more pages in coming days or weeks. So state should be transparent and should give us at least some explanation.
I agree. The freedom of speech is such a fragile institution that even the slightest action against it should be well explained and well documented.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm correspondent of Reporters for Without Borders.
Yep.
So I'm concerned just because of my second work. Yeah.
Even though we disagree with fake news, even shutting it down should be done correctly.
Yep.
Thank you very much. And
so we can move to the other question from audience, that if there is there an effective way to decrease the number of fake news in the public public space? Effective way.
I think this anti-fake news unit from various media in Europe were pretty efficient for this, I think. And there was a kind of wake-up also from the big social networks. Facebook start to finance also anti-fake news how do you say, contents. So it's when you want to fight against fake news, it's improving, I would say. I don't know what.
It's improving, but it's improving very slowly. So in the pre-digital era, the journalism was the way how you can deal with fake news, because fake news and misinformation or manipulation, propaganda was there from all the history, and journalism was the acceptable way how you can fight it. In this era, when any, as you mentioned, any fake news, any story fabricated can be viral on internet and could go online extremely cheap. It's much more difficult for journalists to fact check all the disinformations, to give feedback, to explain readers that what is right and what is wrong. So it's David and Goliath work. It's extremely hard. Facebook is supporting some kind of initiatives, but it's not enough. Facebook is just supporting one fact checker for Slovakia, and I think 1 or 2 fact checkers for Czech Republic. Maybe I think 2 or 3 are in Poland. So we are talking about 50 million people, 60 in just these 3 countries I mentioned, and then there are 5 people who should care about all the dirty stuff online. It's
Twitter, it doesn't do anything, so it's like
Twitter is doing Facebook has some kind of solution. They can diminish the reach of fake news. If the fact checker say that this is fake news, they can put it down and not spread it as it was spread before. They can send you a notification that maybe you yesterday read this information and we have update about it. You should read it, but. It's still just if you have one journalist in Slovakia, he can fact check 1 or 2 stories a week, not more, and he has to have sometimes holidays or he can be sick. If he is sick for 2 weeks, there is no fact checking at all for 2 weeks. So it's not enough. And of course, it's not just a problem of Facebook and Google and YouTube and Twitter and all other platforms. It's a problem of the state and international politicians that we didn't push enough in the past to solve these problems. We are solving it now. As was mentioned, we are waiting for DSA, so the European regulation that could help us in some ways, and hopefully it will be accepted during French presidency. I finger crossed. I hope so. But it's too late. It's too late. And in Slovakia, we are just these last 2 years are doing something with fake news, and we are just last 2 years are trying to create some kind of operative centers and find and have some manuals how to react we should be prepared much sooner. It's too late.
There are about 100 more questions I would like to ask, but the clock doesn't forgive.
Yes, we would really like to continue.
Yeah.
We have one last question from the previously sent, and this is a little bit of complicated questions, and well, you make your opinion about it. But if we can tell about our media, I don't know what does mean our. If we can tell about our media that they are independent, if they always present only one side of the story. For example, there is a new law which forbids cars parking partly on the pavement, but it was always presented like a bad way, and no one catched a view from the walkers on the pavement.
Context.
I'm not aware of a car parking problem in Bratislava currently, but it's a huge topic.
It's a kind of an interesting question, but maybe any thoughts on it? Last one.
I'm very sorry, Monsieur Chastand. This is a Slovak problem, so.
But tell me, because
the context is there is a new law. It's more of a rule coming up that forbids practically all parking on sidewalks for cars, and all the serious, let's not say all, most of the serious media houses actually presented this story as a bad thing, and that the city and the parking system will actually collapse when this happens. The person asking this question asks if we really are independent, if we never present the idea from the side
of parking.
Yeah, from the side of the pedestrian, of a single mother carrying a child on the sidewalk, because she will now have to fight against the people who want to park there.
It is kind of a trick question, because it is asked like if you never present
the other side.
two sides, so you can naturally defend yourself.
I definitely read stories that were welcoming this rule, so I'm not sure that it's the case that all journalists were criticizing it. They were criticizing it that it was accepted in a hurry, that there is no that the local and regional authorities didn't have time to prepare for the situation and mark the spaces where you can park, even if it is a sidewalk. So there was this criticism. I totally accept it, because but I definitely read the stories that were welcoming it, and so I don't think this is the case. But in general, we don't have to talk about sidewalks and cars. Even the
question was focused.
Yeah. There is a different models of journalism from my perspective, and I totally accept that some newsrooms are trying to be in centristic position. They always ask people from right or left, and from conservatives and liberals, and bring always and give us always this kind of platform for discussion. But for myself, I work for a liberal newsroom. We are open with that we are metropolitan, open, democratic, liberal medium. No one expect that the Denník would make arguments for, I don't know, some kind of conservative topics, but we are totally open with that. And it's okay if you have in the media ecosystem these centristic newsroom, these centristic media that are trying to balance the opinions. And from my perspective, it's also okay if you have openly and transparently said that this medium is conservative, liberal, leftist, rightist, whatever. So in Slovakia we have a problem, maybe in more countries, just Slovakia, that most media are liberal. That even though the country is more conservative, the media and the journalists itself are more liberal. And this makes some kind of tensions between the public and the media. We can accept it. It happens from the independent Slovakia. There is just question where were the conservative journalists? Why didn't they create such impactful or investigative and strong newsrooms in the past. So yeah, we have some kind of project here, but yeah, impact of the conservative news sites like Postoj or Denník Standard are much smaller than, for example, Denník SME, Hospodářské noviny, Denník N, of course. So, but yeah, in the past there wasn't team of conservative journalists that would create the strong newsroom, and yeah, we have the fruits here that we have to deal with. That public is more conservative than the media, but it's not a problem just in Slovakia. We can see it in the US. It's the same. The media are on the coasts. They are liberal. They are pro-LGBT. They are feminist, or we can say we can put a lot of marks on them. And the public, big part of public is much more conservative and don't accept this kind of news, and they don't believe them. It's a problem. It's a problem of polarization. It's a problem of difference between the media sphere and the public.
So we can say that the opinion is not really a question of independence.
Yeah, and I think I totally accept if I read Postoj every single week because I want to know their perspective. I want to know their opinions. Even though I don't accept all of them, or I can argue with them all the time, but it's totally okay for them if they are openly conservative, and I know that I'm on conservative website. And it's and I don't think that the journalists should be neutral and objective and all the time. For example, in this Ukrainian conflicts, one of the takeaways from myself and for professional journalism, it's not that in this situation you can't be neutral. You can't bring the he said she said newsroom that the Moscow propaganda said this and Ukraine propaganda said this. No, we know who is the aggressor. We know who is the victim, and we shouldn't be talking like this is the same part of stories. No, that it's not. It's we know who is the villain, and we should name it. We should explain why we think that, and we should bring the facts. We should be fair. We should be truthful. But in this situation, we can't be totally neutral. I don't think this is the role of journalism in this conflict. For example, when we're going back to Ukraine.
Coming from a newspaper which wouldn't like to define itself like Denník N as liberal, I mean, we wouldn't like to define ourselves. Le Monde is like very, I mean, besides being pro-European, pro-democracy values, that's the only things we would like to say. I have maybe a slightly different opinion. I would say, of course, objectivity is a big issue for journalism, but of course, I will always try to be as objective as possible, but I'm not a computer. So, of course, I have a part of subjectivity in myself, like every journalist, and it has to be here, probably. But, of course, it's still very different to be to not to be totally objective and to be propagating fake news. And it's like people think, oh, you are biased, so you are it's like fake news. No, sorry, it's not the same. Of course, we are not computers, but we are doing journalism in any case. So it's not like we are propagating fake news, which are obviously wrong. So it's still possible, and we need it exactly in these times where society is deeply polarized. Media which are able to say what is the truth, what is not the truth. And regarding Russia, I think you can be objective and saying Russia is aggressor and Ukraine victim. It's totally objective. I mean, if you look for news, that's the objective thing. So it's not like being subjective saying that, I think. And yeah, I always try to be as objective as possible, but I can't be always objective because I'm not a computer. That's the thing I say usually.
But you can become a computer with new Elon Musk's New Year chips. Okay, I think that it's all of our questions. If we...
Yeah, I'm actually very satisfied. I would like to sum it up that probably the answer that I got from this, that you both said, is that you can be independent from the money, from ideas of the state, but you shouldn't be independent from the facts. And some facts are clear, like Russia is currently the one attacking civilians. And I thank you for stating that openly.
And I think we can check if we have any questions in audience right now, because we are reaching time.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you for this meeting and for this debate. Congratulations, it's a very sensitive topic, and you did it. Allow me, well, not a short question. What about the educative side of the media or responsibility of the media? And allow me a very short comment on that. We all know that, well, media, it's a watchdog. Sometimes more watch, sometimes more dog. We all know that freedom and democracy means rules. And also, in my view, media means two-sided coin. On the one side, the media should be aware about the need of the society. You must know the society, what the society are claiming for. On the other hand, the media should form, should educate the society. Because the reader should evaluate by his own means, by his own mind, when it's about fake news and when it's not. I think the idealistic target should be not somebody to tell you that this is a fake news, that yourself you will be able to find out where is the fake news. So, coming back to the question, what about the educative role of the media? Thank you so much.
And do you prefer anyone to ask?
Well, I would be excited to know the French point of view and, of course, the Slovak point of view, because we, both of us, we are coming from a country, well, not you, myself, from a country when at your age I had to face a lot of restrictions and a lot of censored media. So I was obliged to follow, I don't know, Free Europe and the Western radio, BBC and whatever it was at hand at that time, to inform myself and to have an inner debate with myself. What is wrong and what is good? Thank you.
Thank you for a question.
I think, I mean, Le Monde, we started a few years ago to go to schools, and journalists are sent to schools to show their work and to explain what they do. And I think one of the things the teachers ask the most, the French teachers, is this anti-fake news. How can we explain to young French people what is fake news, what is not fake news? And that's the thing we can do, but of course it's a very small scale, because we can't be in all French schools we have to report also on the field. And yeah, that's the thing regarding teaching. And what was the second part of the question? It was like, sorry, I forgot the second part of the question. It was about teaching. Yeah.
It was only one part.
Yeah.
The role in the education.
The other thing is like to debunk a fake news, as we say. It's very time consuming. I mean, I know some of these journalists from the anti-fake news Facebook unit and AFP. They need so much time. You can't imagine. They ask a Polish prosecutor and they say, is it true that these chemtrails are propagating, I don't know which kind of products? And so they are calling Polish prosecutors to ask them about fake news, which are looking nonsense, but of course they need this kind of denial from an official authority to say, is it fake news? So we can't expect from the whole population to take so much time to debunk this fake news. And yeah, it's very hard to know, to not have journalists doing this job, which is very time consuming, I would say.
This is the main point.
Yeah, to be critical.
Everything just like that.
Yeah, but I learned at school to have a critical spirit. That's what my teacher says. You have always to be critical. But when you say you have to be critical, if you are complotist, you can start to say, okay, I'm so critical that I became complotist. So it's like, wow, how can you? This spirit is very hard to. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree that journalists shouldn't just bring the news, but they should form, or they should explain the news, and because we live in the times that it's not hard to find information, it's hard to filter and evaluate their importance, objectivity, factfulness. So So definitely, the role of the journalist has changed due to because of the digital era. I can say for whole market, but we try our best. In Denník, we started publishing the textbooks for schools. Before pandemic, we were going to schools and make the presentations and talk with kids, but we published dozens, I don't know, 15 or 20 textbooks about different topics. We started, how the media works, what is the disinformation, these were the main topics. And then we asked the teachers, what do you want from us to explain you? Because what we can do, we can't teach, actually. We are not good teachers. But what we can do, we can search information, we can write text, we can write it in a way that are understandable. So what are the topics that you would need to cover on your classes, and it would help you if we give you some kind of sources or some kind of materials, and they give us a lot of feedback, and so we are now in contact with hundreds of Slovak teachers, and we wrote for them textbook about the European Union. We wrote them about Second World War, about the Velvet Revolution, and I can continue. So because this is not what we were thinking on our news meeting, that what should we write about. It would be the wrong way how to do it. We asked teachers, what do you need, and they said they said us what we should do for them, and it's a hugely successful project for us. It also gives us some kind of contact with the younger readers, so it's even valuable for us. Another thing is that we are trying to, it's a mindset of the newsroom, not just the bring news, because you have, the internet is full of 500 words news stories that will give you what happened, but didn't give you the context, why is it important for you. So we are well known on the market that we are publishing our stories are much longer than the stories in other news, in other media, because we maybe sometimes we are the last one who published the story about the topic. But our motto is okay, I will be today. We said it on the morning meeting with our boss, with our editors, that today I will be the last one who will publish about this, but we will be the best. So sometimes, yeah, in some topics, if there is a car accident, if there is something that happens right now, you have to publish it right now because it's important for people right now. But in some topics, you can wait. You can bring the longer story, bigger analysis. You can go for explanatory journalism, not just the news. So yeah, we try. We are not, of course, we make mistakes. Of course, there are topics that we missed. We didn't explain them well, and but we try to do it. Maybe as the last one, but the best way.
I would like to actually expand on this answer. Both Radoslav and I, we're PhD candidates in mass media studies, so maybe in a few years we will not only be journalists, but we could also be media scientists. The answer here is a bit more about general understanding, I believe, and I would like to make a comment that what about education and media? Yeah, well, the effect of media is also educative, but the function of media is not education itself. Education is actually education. We should have education on a state level, and media should not be forced or should not be mandated to substitute for this role. But it is our role also. Every theater in every country is created by its followers, but it also creates its followers. If I show you a good play every month, and I teach you to visit a good play every month, and I play Shakespeare in my theater, I'm raising a follower of Shakespeare who grows with me as a theater. If I have a serious media that raises good followers and good readers and critical thinkers, I'm doing a good job. But of course, there's the capacity for thinking in every one of us. And as a university teacher that we are, because we are PhD candidates, I know that not everyone is able to finish college or university study, and not everyone is able to critically think on the same level as these people are. And therefore, one of the roles of education in media is to create a safe space, a house of information that is true. No matter how intelligent the person is who reads Le Monde, they will find the same information that is basically safe. And it is also the educative effect of media, that we do not substitute education on the state level, but we offer a safe source of information for everyone, no matter if they are of university study qualification or if they are just a working class person who needs some source of information. And I needed this context because you two were very expertly, but this is the simplest answer. So I'm sorry for it.
You should be in a panel, I think. You are good.
Well, thank you very much for adding the other view to this question. I hope our guests answered your question. And I yes, and I saw other hands in the back.
Hello, thank you very much for this meeting.
Can't you hear?
No.
A little bit louder. It's
closer.
switch on just a little bit louder.
Yes, 1, 2. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for this very much for this meeting, and I have feeling artistic and journalist is big topic for freedom and against violence and war. Two example is young journalist in economy news, Ala Bobris from Ukraine, from Odessa. She live on Slovakia, and others else is one cinema, Mr. Jones from Second War, was a Festival from Freedom, is a Welsh journalist, independent journalist. My question for Jean-Baptiste, which is main essential different between Balkan war and Russian-Ukraine war? Essential difference.
Essential difference between wars.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm 35, so I was not there during Balkan War. So, but what I see, what I've heard, I mean, it's very interesting because actually our reporter now who is in Kiev covered the Sarajevo siege at the time, so he had the experience of the two wars. And what I understand is like Russian army now is 10 times stronger than what was the Yugoslav/Serbs army at the time. So it can be much more deathful and dangerous for the local population as it was in the Balkan at the time. And yeah, that's probably the most worrying thing, I would say. Because I think the Balkan War is like a few 100,000 dead already. So can you imagine if they use the strongest scale of forces against the civilian population in Ukraine? And of course, in Balkans, there was also a lot of tensions between the population. The nationalism was started to spread before the war already. And it's a huge debate in the Balkan story, which part of responsibility has Milosevic, which part of responsibility have the nationalism. But in Ukraine, there was obviously no point to have local conflicts among the local population. So everything was created by Russia. So yeah, that's the biggest difference, I would say.
Are you satisfied? We have another one question here.
Thank you. I wanted to come back to one point raised by the ambassador in the introductory speech, and that's the founding on EU level and on national level, a kind of co-funding, supporting of investigative journalism, of analytical journalism. Would you be in favor of such an instrument on EU level, national levels? That's related as well to the like public service media's, rule. Because the subscription model has a certain burden. There's a threshold of the volume of the nation, of the readers in Slovak. That's different for French. But even the Slovak government, new Slovak government, Jean-Baptiste was talking about that. The new Slovak government announced a kind of very wide concept of the national newspaper, whatever. Then they were talking about fund, creating some granting scheme. Could you imagine some granting schemes? Could you imagine how this would be distributed? Would that contribute to the more enhanced capacity of fulfillment of the role of media? That was my question.
from my point of view, it's a very difficult question because I'm not very comfortable with the idea of EU financing journalism because basically, as a journalist, I would have to investigate the EU also if I would have. So it's not like I really like this idea, and I'm glad that at Le Monde we can be financing ourselves and we don't need, but we are still also getting from support from the state because you have like subventions from, but they are not connected to any kind of projects. They are connecting to the readerships, but I think it's impossible to run a newspaper in France without this kind of public support. So I don't feel, I'm not very comfortable with this idea, but besides that, if you say there are smaller countries where basically you have not a very good media landscape, and this is a very huge issue to have a good media landscape. And Slovakia is one of the examples. It's a success story if you say, unfortunately, take the death of Ján Kuciak, but when you saw how Slovakia improved in the last years on this scale of good journalism, fight against corruption, it's amazing. So it's still possible as a small country to manage to do this. But of course, I know well the situation in Romania and Bulgaria, for instance, where you have very bad journalism because they don't have money. So if the EU can be a transitory situation, I would say, okay, maybe it could be part of a solution, but it shouldn't be the only solution because, as you said, I don't think the journalism should be state-sponsored or EU-sponsored, or how you like to call it.
I think it's partially a cultural or institutional question. I know that French is much, there is some kind of schemes to support journalism, it works well, as far as I know. In Slovakia, we are in a different situation because culturally we are aware that if state want to support something, if Paris want to support something, it's not make this kind of question when the Bratislava want to support something. There is, because we have some kind of memory. Where could it lead with? What could it lead? And of course, the French Ministry of Culture is in different situation and different kind of. It's a much stronger institution than the Slovak Ministry of Culture, and. If Slovak Ministry of Culture want to support media, I'm starting to be nervous because it could work for 4 years. It could work for until next elections. But what will happen then? So the problem with Slovak institutions are making these kind of models, from my perspective, really problematic because of the institution itself. Igor Matovic, when he became the prime minister, he offered this kind of fund, and all investigative journalists and all the newsrooms say that they don't want his money just because that they don't want to be in the situation when he is financing the journalism, because they know where it could lead. Only one newsroom who raised hand they want to money was Zemavek, as I remember, and it's a disinformation page in Slovakia. So yeah, it says all.
Thank you.
May I follow up on this question? I think it's a very interesting one. I understand that governments financing media is a problem for the profession, the ethics of journalism. I perfectly understand. EU, it might be another matter. UN, the United Nations, can also matter. I've been in countries less developed, less democratic, where media, journalists, local journalists, came to us, came to France, came to Germany, came to ask for funding, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to exist. Investigative journalists, in particular, are very in need of funding, and we do. EU has a program in many countries where we support independent journalism. Investigative journalism, and it's very important for them because it's a matter of survival. So in such cases, I think this in a more general terms, the proposal that France is making now, as I understand, is a UN fund. So it's not the government that is giving the money. It's the UN, which is a bit different, I think, and in the EU also. It's not, and maybe we should think about not directly giving the money from the EU or from the UN to the medias, but find some intermediaries, association of journalists or organizations, NGOs that can manage these funds objectively, and but at the same time serve the purpose of make these media and journalists alive.
If I can ask, if I can add to this, just I personally received 2 fundings from EU as a freelancer, which was really important for me to be available to work on investigative journalism. But we have to remember that sometimes, maybe for the bigger media houses, it can, in eyes of the public, it can be burden to be supported. Do we have another question?
I mean, it was a European decision. RT and Sputnik were closed in the last days, and there was a specific case in French because RT used, because it's closed now, used to have a French-speaking newsroom based in Paris. So they were having content in French, made for France. I think that was the only country because Germany blocked RT a long time ago. So yes, this newsroom was closed Wednesday, I think it's 2 days ago, and or Thursday. So this newsroom was closed, and it was also a huge debate, I think, among journalists in France, because of course, as you say, we are not very comfortable with states deciding to close the media, even a biased one. So it was also a debate, but it's hard for me to. I must say I didn't follow very daily this newsroom, what they were promoting for content, but of course they were obviously supporting, promoting pro-Russian content in the war now. So yeah, and I think the journalists in this newsroom say it was unfair that they were closed, and yeah, there was a kind of protest from this newsroom. That's what I've heard.
Phil, thank you very much for all your questions. I think we could keep questioning and answering till morning, but our time's up. Thank you very much. Thanks to our guests, Jean-Baptiste and Filip. Thank you for attending. You were valuable guests. So I think we can applaud them a little bit.